Now in this lesson, we're going to be building a guitar, and we're going to take it one string at a time. And I'm going to start with the biggest string, this low E here. So here we go. Imagine you've gone back in time and you found the guitar inventor, and he just has one string so far on his new invention, the guitar. So we're going to see what it might be like to play this one string guitar. Now, much like the piano, there's an advantage to having a one-string guitar, and that is as you move up the fretboard, all the higher notes go in this direction. As you want to access a lower note, you just go in this direction, kind of like the piano. Let's see what it's like if I were to play a melody just on this one string. Okay, not bad, but you probably already see some problems with this one-string guitar. First of all, I can't play any chords because I just have one string. Second of all, I'm pretty busy going up and down the fretboard, like way up the fretboard and way down just to play one simple melody. First, I want to give you a quick primer on position playing. I'm going to place my hand so that my first finger covers the first fret, second finger the second fret, third finger, and fourth finger like this. And that makes it where I don't have to move my hand to play any of these notes. Now, this is called playing in the first position because your first finger is in the first fret, and that determines where the other fingers go. If I were to move this up one fret, then this would be called playing in the second position because we would cover these notes. In third position, fourth position, fifth position, and so on. So now on my one-string guitar, I see all the natural notes. That's what we've talked about so far in previous lessons. I see the E, the F, the G, but now I have to shift up to get to the A, which is right here. So I have to shift my position. I would probably go to the fifth position. And that's the B and the C. Imagine our inventor says, I have an idea. I'll add another string and I'll tune that string to the first note I can't reach in this position. So that would be this note here because I can play all these, but I have to shift somehow to get to this note. So I'll add another string above it and I'll tune it to this note right here, which is how we tune the guitar. So now instead of having to shift, I can play these notes right here, keep my hand in the same position and play the open string and play them right there with these two fingers. I can play this like this without having to move. So our inventor has done a great thing. Now if I try to play that same melody, I don't have to move around quite as much. Yeah, this two-string guitar is better, but it still requires that I have to move and stretch and find notes up the neck. And I still can't play chords because I only have two strings. And as you'll see in a future lesson, it takes 3 notes to make a chord. So lucky for me, our inventor decided to add another string, a third string, and use the same principle. Let's hold our hand in this position, and what is the next note that I can't reach without moving my hand? The D note. So because we have A, B, C, and D, so I want to tune this next string so that it's this note. That way I can play all those natural notes. So now if I play my melody, but I still have to reach up for this note. I still have to get outside of this position to get to this note in my melody. Lucky for me, again, our inventor added another string. And we use the same principle. We have these 4 frets, and then next note up is G. So we add another string, and we tune it to this G right here. So now if I play my melody, so now I can get to all of the notes of the melody and never have to move my hand. Now we have a 4-string guitar. So far, our inventor has always added the next string so that it's tuned to the first note out of reach. Whoever was involved in this process, when we got to this string, the second string, they decided not to try to tune it to the first note out of reach, which would have been the C. But we tune this second string to the 4th fret. Why is that? It's caused a lot of confusion. Certain intervals are played certain ways on these 4 strings, and then when you cross the second string, how you form the patterns for those intervals changes. And so it's kind of a pain. So the question is why? Why did they change it? I think I'll try to answer that question by showing you what would have happened had we decided to continue tuning each new string at the 5th fret. I mean, it seems logical, and I just happen to have a guitar that I've tuned that way, so let me grab it. Here's what the tuning would look like had we done that. Instead of this open string being a B, it would have been a C. And as a result, this being a C, going to the 5th fret, then this would be an F. You would think this is very logical. Now if I start playing all the notes here on this 3rd string, and then I go to the next string, it's the next note up. So it makes sense to me, but let's see how this kind of tuning would affect common chords that you would normally play. The notes in the C chord are C, E, and G. So here we're looking at the notes of the C chord across the neck. We have C, E, and G. Well, now this string is a C string, and this string is an F string with the new tuning. So we have to play it kind of like this right here. We can't play the open 1st string because it's an F note. That's not in the C chord. In the G chord, the notes are G, B, and D. So I need to find combinations of G, B, and D on multiple strings here. I can do that with the first 4 strings. But once we get to these strings, everything is shifted up, so I have to find some way to get a B note, and the only way I can do that is to put my 4th finger right here, and then I have to push these frets down here because that now is a D and that's a G to play a G chord. The shift caused by tuning the 2nd string to the 5th fret of the 3rd string instead of the 4th fret makes trying to play most of the basic chords really awkward, and bar chords become downright impossible. In standard tuning, it's pretty simple, and all these chord forms are much easier to play. So let me go switch back to my other guitar. The standard way of tuning a 6-string guitar is really a pretty brilliant combination of logic and really good understanding of the human hand, because most of the strings are tuned to the note that's just beyond your reach, with the exception of the G string, and by doing that, we're given 2 open strings that work really well with most of our basic chords. It also gives us another E string. We have this E string, and we have this E string. Now I'm going to show you how to quickly find any note on an adjacent string. The same note, but played on another string. It's so easy once you see the pattern, and it goes back to tuning. Here's what we know. The 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 1st strings are all tuned to the 5th fret of the string before. So you have this, and then this. That we know. Now, armed with that information, we know that for all string pairs except the 2nd and 3rd strings, the same note is only 5 frets away, all up and down the neck. And for the 2nd and 3rd strings, the same note's only 4 frets away. To easily see this on your fretboard, try this. Hold down the A note at the 2nd fret of the 3rd string with your 1st finger, and spread your other fingers across the 3rd, 4th, and 5th frets. To find the same note on the 4th string, just slide this hand position up 2 frets and play the 7th fret on the 4th string. Now the same thing applies if you're starting with this A. So from a hand position, it's only 2 frets away using your first and fourth fingers. But you know it's 5 frets up. So here's the A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the second and third strings, put your first finger on this D note, which is on the second string, and then you form your hand position, and then reach over on the third string and just move up 1 fret. Now, of course, if we go from here, we'd move 2 frets up with this hand position. Being able to visualize this relationship on all the string pairs is going to really boost your understanding of the fretboard layout. A lot of blues guys and jazz guys have used this knowledge to really spruce up some of their riffs. The reason that's used a lot on the guitar is because the tone of the same note on 2 separate strings is just a little different. It's almost kind of conversational, like a person's moving their mouth and talking. You hear kind of changes in the tone. So it's almost conversational sounding, which is why it's used a lot in blues. Now here's an example of just taking a couple of notes and experimenting with the different tones and the different places you would play them. So let's start with the A and the B on the 5th string. Now instead of playing the A on the open 5th string, we know that this A is the same A. So shift your hand up into the second position and use your 4th finger here. Instead of that, this B is found just by shifting up here. So it's either this, or this, or this. And another way to play A and B is to play the open A string and the B here. Now that technique of playing the lower note on the higher string and then the next higher note on the lower string is something that a lot of country guys use to get that sort of piano with the sustain pedal held down effect. As you can see, the standard tuning method is a really great mixture of math and practicality. In the next lesson, I'm going to go into a little more detail about position playing and how to optimize the position of both your thumb and your fingers, how to know when to turn your hand, when not to turn it, when to reach this way, when to reach this way. You don't want to miss that one. There are going to be some tips that are going to save you some headaches. Hey, thanks for watching and see you in the next lesson.